Breakfast at Tiffany's is a novel by Truman Capote, published in 1958. It is the story of a young woman living in New York during World War II who hobnobs with famous people, gets into a lot of troubles, and breaks many hearts along the way, all while struggling to find her place in the world. This character, Holly Golightly, is one of Capote's best-known creations and an American cultural icon. The author was also famous for his flamboyant public persona and for his extravagant and outrageous lifestyle. He was born in New Orleans on September the 30th, 1924. Capote's early life was marked by instability and poverty. An unusual and observant child, Truman was determined to become a writer. He taught himself to read when he was 4 years old, and by the age of 8 he was practicing at writing stories. In 1933, his mother remarried to a successful Cuban businessman, Joe Capote. Truman soon joined the couple in New York City, where he adopted his stepfather's surname. Capote was intelligent and highly focused on writing, but he was uninterested in academics and dropped out of his 4th year of high school when offered a 2-year contract position as a copyboy at The New Yorker. In 1942, Capote published his first short story. One of his works, Other Voices, Other Rooms, remained on the New York Times bestseller list for 9 weeks. Capote is now a celebrated member of New York's literary and social elite, and with the publication of In Cold Blood in 1966, Capote secured his reputation as one of the most important American writers of the century. In his time in the public spotlight, Capote was renowned for his social stature and for his contribution to literature. His friends included actors, authors, critics, royalty, and aristocrats, whom he entertained in famous style. An open homosexual in a time when gays and lesbians were widely considered deviant or even criminal, Capote enjoyed an intimate, non-exclusive relationship with the author Jack Dunphy. Truman Capote passed away in Los Angeles on August the 25th, 1984. He suffered from liver cancer. The story of Breakfast at Tiffany's is told from the point of view of a struggling young writer who gets to know Holly when she moves into an apartment in his old brownstone in Manhattan's Upper East Side. He receives a phone call from a bartender that he and Holly knew, saying that he had seen the girl in an African wooden statue. Then the narrator tells his story in flashbacks, occasionally interjecting comments from his older self. It is clear that, even in the present, he still thinks about Holly and wonders where she is and what she is doing. There's a feeling of nostalgia in the way he tells the story. Holly is a young, beautiful country girl who reinvents herself and lives life as if each moment were a holiday. She has no job and lives by socializing with wealthy men who take her to clubs and restaurants and give her money and expensive presents. She hopes to marry one of them, Rusty Troller, a millionaire that at the end marries her friend Maggie Wildwood. But Holly gets over her loss quickly, getting engaged with a Brazilian diplomat, José Ibarra Jaigar. According to Capote, Holly is not a prostitute, but an American geisha. She has a cat that she refuses to name because she doesn't want to create a bond with it, and furthermore, she cannot bear the thought of putting down roots. Over the next year, she slowly reveals herself to the narrator, who finds himself fascinated by her curious lifestyle. Holly visits a man named Sally Tomato in Sing Sing prison. Tomato's lawyer pays Holly to visit him and deliver and receive strange weather reports. The narrator warns her that there could be a serious legal ramifications about this, but she doesn't listen to him. Holly is quite elusive about her past, speaking only of her brother Fred, who is in the army. One day, the narrator knows a man and discovers that he is Holly's husband. She married him in Texas when she was 14 years old. He tells the narrator Holly's real name, Lunami Burns. Holly gently tells her husband, Doc Golightly, that she can't be with him anymore and sends him on his way. Soon after, Holly receives a telegram from Doc informing that her beloved brother Fred has been killed in the war. Moreover, while she's pregnant, she's arrested for illegal activities linked to Sally Tomato, and she has a miscarriage. In the movie adaptation directed by Blake Edwards, the wonderful Audrey Hepburn and the beautiful George Pepper are Holly and the narrator, and now he has a name, Paul Varjak. But there are some differences between the book and the movie, and the author wasn't so happy for this treachery of his masterpiece. The main and noticeable difference is that Holly is blonde in the book, but she has auburn hair in the movie. Actually, Capote's idea was to give this role to Marilyn Monroe. A character that was cut from the movie was the bartender, Joe Bell, who both Holly and Paul were friends with. Other scenes that were taken out of the movie were the scene where Paul and Holly go horseback riding and Paul falls off his horse, the scene where Paul goes to visit Holly in the hospital after she's been arrested for being involved in a narcotics scandal, and the scene at the very beginning with Joe Bell and Paul, where Joe is telling Paul about how Mr. Yunioshi, the neighbor photographer, says he thought to have seen Holiday in Africa while taking pictures there. Moreover, the book is set during World War II, while the film during 60s. The character of Meg Wildwood is a simple model and doesn't have a fundamental role in all his life, as on the contrary in the book, where it is supposed that the two girls have a love affair. Another detail that doesn't exist in the movie is Holly's pregnancy, but the real difference is the grand finale, made more content to be appreciated by spectators that in fact have been loving this masterpiece since then and always will be. This work, seen both from the point of view of the movie and of the book, is an example of perfect connection between the feeling of freedom and the problems of that time, and an example of perfect ability to convert the Puritan morality into a new idea of levity and joie de vivre. This happens thanks to Capote's creative writing, rich of naivety, madness, friendship, and candor,